You know, in the professional world, it often feels like the loudest voice in the room is the one that gets all the attention. But what happens to everyone else? The quiet achievers? Well, today we're diving into a community that's built on a pretty radical idea that maybe, just maybe, true power isn't about shouting louder, it's about finding the right room to speak in. Let's get into it. Man, this quote, I feel like this hits home for so many of us. It's that feeling, right? You're at some networking event, you're trying to keep up with the energy, but by the end of it, you're just completely wiped out. This really gets to the heart of the problem. A lot of professional spaces just feel like they weren't designed for you.
And this is where everything flips on its head. It's such a powerful question because it completely reframes the issue. What if you don't need fixing? What if the real solution is just to change the room you're in? This one single idea is pretty much the foundation for the whole community we're looking at today.
So, before we can really get to the solution, we've got to unpack the problem. And it all comes down to taking apart this myth that's been baked into our culture for so long. The idea that louder is better. This is that old playbook that, honestly, so many of us were handed. The idea that if you want to get ahead, you have to be constantly on. Pushing your way to the front, pitching your ideas nonstop, and just performing confidence. It's a model that basically measures your value by your volume. And for a lot of people, that's just exhausting. It's not sustainable. Okay, so if that's the old, exhausting playbook, what's the alternative? This brings us right to the core philosophy behind the Introvert Achievers Network. It's a concept they call quiet power. And, this whole idea wasn't cooked up in some corporate boardroom. The founder, Stephanie Oden, basically says it came from a really personal place. She wasn't trying to sell some big new product. She was literally just trying to build the community that she desperately needed but couldn't find anywhere else. So what is this quiet power thing really? Well, it's a total reframe. Instead of looking at things like deep thinking or being a careful observer or having a calm presence as weaknesses, this philosophy flips it. It says, no, those are your greatest professional strengths. They're your superpowers. And yeah, this slide just lays it all out, crystal clear. On one side, you have that exhausting outward performance of the old playbook, and on the other, you have these deep internal strengths of the quiet power era. It's a huge shift from valuing how you perform on the outside to celebrating the clarity you have on the inside. So you might be wondering, okay, is this for me? Well, it's for anyone who's tired of pretending. It's for you if you want to collaborate and grow authentically, if you want to set big, meaningful goals and actually have support to get there. And, crucially, if you want to be seen and celebrated for who you are without having to give up your inner peace to do it. Okay, so the philosophy sounds amazing, right? But great ideas are one thing, execution is another. How does this network actually put all of this into practice? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. The community is really built for what they call thrivers and risers. We're talking about women who are actively building something, a business, a career, but they're determined to do it on their own terms. The whole focus is on deep, intentional growth and leaving all that noise and hustle culture at the door. All right, so what do you actually get when you're a member? It's a really cool mix. You get high-level strategy with monthly mastermind sessions, but also personal development with guided coaching. But honestly, the real magic seems to be that combination of practical tools with a community that just gets it. They all share the same goal, achieve big things without the burnout. Okay, let's talk numbers. They offer something called Legacy Access, and it comes in at $49 a month. So for that investment, what's the return? What kind of results are people actually seeing? Well, let's look at what they have to say. Because look, the philosophy is great, the features sound awesome, but none of that really matters if it doesn't actually work, right? The proof is in the pudding. So let's see if this approach is actually making a difference for its members. Let's hear from them. Let's start with this feedback from a member named Linky Uaj. She points out two huge things here. First, becoming more intentional in her work and her life. And second, finding a safe space. Wow. That right there tells you the network is succeeding at creating that supportive, non-performative environment they're aiming for. And then you've got Leslie Bean, who talks about the practical side of things. For her, it wasn't some big, abstract theory. It was the simple structure and support that she didn't even know she was missing. It just goes to show you that sometimes the biggest game changer is just having a consistent, accountable space to do your thing. So you can see how this all builds towards something really clear. It's a real journey for the members. Step 1 is learning to lead with your natural presence. Step 2 is figuring out how to profit from your purpose. And step 3 is putting it all together to make an undeniable impact, all without having to be someone you're not. And we're going to end on this thought because it just wraps everything up so perfectly. You don't need to shout to be heard. You just need the right space. It's such a powerful reminder that influence isn't really about volume at all. It's about your environment. And it really makes you stop and ask yourself, am I in the right room? Am I in a space where my voice can actually be heard?